If you're a die-hard Browns fan and love breaking down the game like we do, hit that subscribe button and turn on the bell so you never miss a blitz. There's a new wave of speculation crashing over the Cleveland Browns franchise, and this time, it doesn't just concern the quarterback carousel, it might go all the way up to the head coach's office. FS1's Colin Cowherd lit a match under the rumor mill this week, suggesting that Browns owner Jimmy Haslam could be eyeing a seismic shift in leadership, one that would involve not only drafting a new franchise quarterback, but also bringing in a legendary college coach to take the reins. According to Cowherd, there's legitimate buzz linking Alabama legend Nick Saban to Cleveland, particularly if the Browns find themselves in position to draft Arch Manning, the highly touted Texas Longhorns quarterback and the latest prodigy in football's royal family. While it might sound like a fantasy football fever dream, the connections run deep. Saban's agent is tight with Haslam's inner circle, and the Manning family sits at the heart of this potential coup. It's bold, it's brash, and for Cleveland fans, it might just be exactly what they've been waiting for. Let's be honest, the Browns have spent the last 2 decades lost in the wilderness, desperately trying to find a long-term answer under center instability. On the sideline, Kevin Stefanski brought a brief moment of clarity, leading the team to a playoff win in 2020, but the momentum has slowed, and the whispers about his job security have grown louder with each passing season. Now, with training camp underway and the QB1 race still wide open, the pressure has never been higher. Deshaun Watson remains a question mark. Injuries and inconsistency have plagued his tenure, and backup options aren't exactly inspiring confidence. There's talent on defense, especially in the front seven, but the offense remains riddled with uncertainty. Outside of wideout Jerry Jeudy, the Browns are still searching for reliable weapons. The clock is ticking, and with the possibility of a top draft pick looming, Stefanski's margin for error is vanishing by the day. The real kicker here is the potential prize that awaits in the 2025 NFL Draft. Arch Manning isn't just another quarterback prospect, he's football royalty, the nephew of Peyton and Eli. Arch carries not only the Manning name but also sky-high expectations. While he's still developing at Texas, scouts have already pegged him as one of the most NFL-ready passers in the upcoming class. If Cleveland stumbles into a top-to-draft slot, which Colin Cowherd bluntly predicts by lumping them in with the Saints as the league's worst teams, the temptation to take Manning might be too strong to resist, but that move alone wouldn't guarantee change. That's where the Nick Saban factor enters the equation. The coaching legend has long flirted with the NFL, and while his stint with the Dolphins was far from memorable, the idea of pairing him with a generational quarterback prospect and having full control of a rebuild could be the challenge that finally lures him back to the pros. What adds weight to Cowherd's theory is how interconnected all these figures really are. Jimmy Haslam's circle of trust, as detailed in an article from The Atlantic, reportedly includes the Manning family, longtime NFL power broker Jimmy Sexton, and coaching icon Bill Parcells. Sexton is Saban's agent. The Mannings are, well, the Mannings, and Haslam is known to lean heavily on their advice. That network creates a perfect storm of influence, and if Arch Manning declares for the NFL, it wouldn't be a shock to see Cleveland attempt a package deal bringing Manning and Saban together to reset the culture and finally stabilize the franchise. It would be bold, unprecedented even, but in a league where fortunes can flip overnight, it just might be crazy enough to work. Cowherd calls it an open secret. The whispers are growing louder. The pieces are quietly aligning behind the scenes. That leaves Kevin Stefanski in an unenviable position. On paper, he's still the head coach. In reality, he might be auditioning for his job with every snap this season. With so much riding on the team's performance, his choice of starting quarterback for 2025 could make or break not only the Browns' year, but his own career. Whether he sticks with Watson, takes a gamble on a younger arm, or even orchestrates a late offseason move, Stefanski has to get it right. Winning games isn't just important, it's the only thing that can delay what feels like an inevitable regime change. If the Browns stumble early and often, the Saban-Manning whispers will turn into roars. And once the fans start chanting for change, ownership rarely waits long to make it happen. Stefanski's margin for error, shrinking by the day. His mission, nothing short of salvaging the franchise and his future. It's a delicate balance. The Browns have built a respectable defense, and there are pieces to like on this roster. But offense is king in today's NFL, and without a stable quarterback, everything else crumbles. The offensive line isn't the wall of dominance it once. The running game is in transition, and the receiving cores outside of Judy lacks firepower. That leaves the quarterback, whoever it may be, in a tough position. And if that quarterback stumbles, it's not just their job on the line. The ripple effect would hit Stefanski, the front office, and potentially open the door to a total organizational reboot. That's why the whispers about Manning and Saban aren't just fantasy fodder. They represent a very real, very plausible scenario that could reshape the Browns for the next decade. The irony: the only way to stop that vision from becoming reality is to win, and win now. What Cowherd is suggesting isn't a typical hot take. This is insider-level chatter, connecting powerful dots between powerful people. Saban may be retired from college football, but he's not retired from influence. His ties to Sexton, Haslam, and the Mannings make this more than hypothetical. In fact, there's a sense that the wheels are already turning behind closed doors. Haslam has never shied away from making bold, splashy moves. His acquisition of Deshaun Watson was proof of that. Bringing in Saban and drafting Arch Manning would be a headline-grabbing, franchise-defining pivot that could energize the fan base and reset expectations across the league. The Browns haven't been a destination franchise for years. This could change that, but for now, it's all potential. Stefanski still holds the keys. Whether he keeps them is entirely up to what happens over the next 17 games. From a fan's perspective, it's a lot to digest. On one hand, there's cautious optimism. Maybe Watson finally puts it all together. Maybe Stefanski finds the magic he had in 2020. Maybe the team overachieves, and this whole Saban Manning theory becomes nothing more than off-season gossip. But on the other hand, this is the Browns we're talking about. Chaos is never far away. The organization's recent history is riddled with near misses, culture shifts, and regime changes. That's why this rumor carries weight. It's not out of character. It fits the pattern. And if the season starts slipping away by mid-October, the calls for a shakeup won't be confined to sports talk radio. They'll be coming from inside the building. The fans deserve better. Ownership knows it. The question is, how far are they willing to go to finally get it? If Saban does return to the NFL, Cleveland might be one of the only spots where it actually makes sense. He wouldn't just be another coach. He'd be given the keys to the kingdom, total control, the opportunity to shape a team in his image from day one. Combine that with a blue-chip quarterback like Manning, and suddenly Cleveland looks like an appealing blank canvas. For years, people have said the Browns were just a quarterback away. What if they were a quarterback and a coach away? What if both arrive in the same draft class, backed by ownership willing to move mountains to make it happen? It sounds wild. But again, this is the NFL, where dynasties are built on bold moves, and fortune often favors the fearless. Haslam might be preparing to roll the dice once more. And this time, the stakes are sky-high. So as training camp unfolds and the Browns try to piece together a competitive roster, all eyes will remain on the quarterback room. Every throw, every snap, every decision will be analyzed under a microscope. Because behind the scenes, the future is already being debated. Will the Browns ride out the storm and commit to their current leadership? Or will 2025 be the year everything changes? One thing is certain: Colin Cowherd didn't pull this theory out of thin air. The names involved are too powerful, the timing too convenient. And in a league driven by power brokers and backroom deals, sometimes the real moves happen long before the games are even played. For Cleveland, this might be the calm before the storm, or the start of something big. Either way, buckle up. The Dawg Pound might be in for the wildest ride yet. Enjoying the content so far? Smash that like button and drop your take in the comments. We want to hear what you think about the Browns this season. It seems like a storm is brewing in Cleveland, and this time, it's not coming off Lake Erie. It's inside the Browns locker room. Rumors are swirling, whispers getting louder, and if what we're hearing is true, the Browns could be on the verge of one of the biggest internal rifts the NFL has seen in years. Multiple sources, reportedly close to the situation, suggest that superstar pass rusher Myles Garrett has drawn a clear line in the sand. He no longer wants to share the field or the locker room with quarterback Deshaun Watson. Now, whether that's frustration, leadership clashing, or something deeper, we can't say for sure. But what's certain is this rumor is growing legs, and fast. There's talk that Garrett has voiced his stance privately to team executives, saying flat out that his future with the team depends on Watson's departure. And trust me, that's not a statement you make lightly. You might be wondering, where did all this come from? Just last season, we saw Myles Garrett and Deshaun Watson pose for team photos, celebrate wins, and even exchange sideline fist bumps. But don't let the optics fool you. NFL teams are professionals, and sometimes tension brews quietly under the surface, according to insiders. The dynamic between Garrett and Watson has been strained ever since Watson arrived in Cleveland. Amid heavy controversy, Garrett, seen as a leader and locker room cornerstone, reportedly kept his distance from day one, and while he never publicly criticized Watson, sources claim he never really embraced him either. Fast forward to this offseason and something has clearly shifted. Garrett is said to be tired of Watson's off-field baggage and on-field inconsistencies. One source even described Garrett as fed up, saying he believes Watson has fractured the culture Garrett helped build. That's the kind of quote that doesn't leak unless something serious is going on. Let's talk about that hated by the locker room claim, because that's a bombshell if true. Word is, Garrett didn't just vent frustration. He allegedly stated that Deshaun Watson is widely disliked among Browns players. That's a major allegation. For a quarterback, being the face of the franchise, that level of internal resentment could be catastrophic. According to whispers from around the team, multiple players have privately voiced concerns about Watson's leadership style, lack of accountability, and the ever-present shadow of his legal controversies. While the front office may still back Watson publicly, the locker room atmosphere tells a different story. Garrett, who's always prided himself on discipline and work ethic, reportedly sees Watson as a distraction both in practice and in the public eye. There's growing talk that Garrett's statement wasn't just a personal ultimatum, but a reflection of a broader discontent simmering within the team. And if that's true, things could unravel quickly in Cleveland. This isn't just about personal feelings. It could have massive implications for the Browns' future. Think about it. Myles Garrett is not just any player. He's the face of their defense, a perennial Pro Bowler, and arguably the best edge rusher in the NFL today. If a player of his stature is openly questioning whether he wants to continue in Cleveland while Deshaun Watson remains the starter, you can bet the front office is paying attention. The Browns are heavily invested in both players, but their contracts and their influence hit differently. Watson's deal is massive, fully guaranteed, and tied to a lot of public scrutiny. Garrett, on the other hand, is the heartbeat of the team's identity on defense. Choosing between the two isn't just about talent, it's about chemistry, leadership, and future direction. There are whispers that the Browns front office is already feeling the pressure, with early off-season meetings reportedly growing tense around this exact issue. Let's rewind to how the Browns got here, because context matters. When the Browns traded for Deshaun Watson, it shocked the league not just because of the size of the deal, but because of the timing and circumstances. Watson was still facing over 20 civil lawsuits related to alleged misconduct, and the PR storm was intense. Many inside the Browns organization, according to some insiders, were caught off guard by the move. Garrett, reportedly one of those left out of the loop, was said to be deeply disappointed by the lack of communication. He never voiced this publicly, but teammates say he immediately became more reserved around Watson. Fast forward to last season, and it's clear the chemistry never clicked. Garrett did his job, racking up sacks and leading the defense, while Watson struggled with injury, rust, and inconsistency. Some players reportedly began questioning if Watson was even fully committed. That sentiment, it seems, never really went away. What we're hearing now is that the situation has reached a tipping point. Myles Garrett, always measured and professional in public, is reportedly done staying silent behind the scenes. According to one anonymous team source, Garrett told senior members of the Browns staff that he can't play another season with Watson in the building. That's a massive statement from someone who's always been loyal to the organization. More importantly, it's said to have sparked major internal debate among team leaders and coaching staff. Do you risk alienating your defensive superstar by backing a quarterback who hasn't yet delivered? Or do you start exploring the unthinkable, shopping Watson and absorbing the financial hit for the sake of locker room harmony? Neither option is easy, but one thing is clear: if Garrett is truly ready to walk away, the Browns will be forced to make a decision that could define their franchise for the next decade. There's another angle to all this: how other players are reacting. Word is, Garrett isn't alone in his frustration. Several veterans, particularly on defense, are said to be siding with him. They reportedly feel Watson's presence brings constant media distractions and casts a shadow over the team's hard-earned progress. One source claimed the locker room has never felt the same since Watson arrived. Others have said privately that they missed the cohesion and grit that once defined the Browns' defense-first identity. This divide, while still under the surface publicly, could begin to manifest in team dynamics, missed assignments, lack of energy in practice, and fractures in communication. That kind of tension rarely stays hidden for long, and if players begin choosing sides, this could evolve from a feud into a full-blown crisis. For the Browns, a franchise that has clawed its way back to relevance, the stakes couldn't be higher. Everything they've built could be at risk. Now, let's address the coaching staff and front office, because their role here is pivotal. Head coach Kevin Stefanski is reportedly caught in the middle. On one side, he has a defense led by Myles Garrett, hungry, elite, and bonded. On the other, a franchise quarterback who cost the team a mountain of draft capital and salary cap space. Sources suggest Stefanski is deeply concerned about the locker room vibe, even though he's trying to maintain a united front in public. GM Andrew Berry, meanwhile, is said to be under intense pressure from ownership, who remain financially and reputationally tied to Watson. There are even whispers that ownership has privately warned Berry to find a solution before camp, indicating just how seriously this is being taken. Whatever happens, this isn't just about one rift, it's about the entire direction of the team. And in a league where locker room harmony can be the difference between playoffs and collapse, the Browns are walking a tightrope. It's important to remember that nothing official has been said yet. Neither Garrett nor Watson has spoken publicly about any feud, and the team hasn't issued any statements, but the silence itself is deafening. Normally, a rumor this big would be quickly shut down, statements would fly, tweets would be posted, and teammates would rush to defend each other. But right now, nothing. No social media posts, no team denial, no locker room selfies to calm the storm. That absence of noise might be the loudest message of all. It suggests that the organization is either still processing the situation or desperately trying to keep things in-house. Either way, it doesn't look good. And if this doesn't get resolved before the preseason, you can expect every microphone, every camera, and every headline to zero in on Cleveland. The longer the silence continues, the more people will start to believe that this rift is real and irreversible. So where do the Browns go from here? That's the million-dollar question, or should we say, the $230 million question. Considering Watson's fully guaranteed contract, if Garrett stays firm in his stance, the Browns may be forced to consider options no one thought possible just a year ago. Could they trade Watson? Could they find a way to part ways without completely dismantling their salary cap? Or perhaps more shockingly, could Myles Garrett actually be the one to walk away? Sources say that option isn't off the table, with some even suggesting Garrett could request a trade if things don't change. Imagine that, the heart and soul of Cleveland's defense, suiting up elsewhere because of an unresolvable conflict. It's unthinkable, yet suddenly, it feels plausible. For now, all we can do is watch, wait, and wonder just how deep this fracture goes. One thing's for sure, the Browns' 2025 season may already be off to the most dramatic start in franchise history. Thanks for riding with us on another Browns Blitz. If you liked the video, share it with a fellow fan, hit subscribe, and ring that bell so you're always part of the Dawg Pound conversation. Go Browns!